Hello, and welcome to Tuesday DJ Gig Tips, brought to you by Vibo, the music planning app. If you've gone grocery shopping, or filled up your gas tank, or paid rent, or anything else, lately you know that prices have gone up. Everything has gone up. It's called inflation, and it sucks. We're experiencing inflation like we haven't seen in, I think, like 40 years. And a lot of us are struggling. I hear a lot of DJs talk about how expensive things are, how expensive everything is, from DJ equipment to batteries, let alone fuel and food and things like that. I just had to take the dog to the vet and got clobbered with vet bills that are a lot higher than they used to be because things just cost more. What do we do to combat that? The answer is so simple to me that it's almost too easy. But we got to raise our prices to meet inflation. It's just what we have to do. If we're looking at things like batteries and talking about how expensive they are, there's a problem. All right? We should be able to afford batteries and not think about it. I bought a 4-pack of batteries for an Ape remote yesterday. And because I've adjusted my prices for inflation, it wasn't that big of a deal. I shouldn't have to feel the expense of batteries for remote controls. If you do, it's time to raise your prices to meet inflation. Do some math and figure it out. And when a client calls you and you cost more than you did last year, when they ask why, you just can simply tell them, hey, I had to meet inflation costs. I had to. My expenses went up, so my prices went up. If they don't understand that, they're lying to you. They totally understand it because they're doing the same thing. They're adjusting for inflation. They may not be buying things like they used to. They may not be driving like they used to. They may not be going to Starbucks like they used to. Everyone has to adjust for inflation. And the only way this is ever going to go back to normal is if everyone adjusts. So go ahead and do it. Adjust for inflation. And if for some reason your client can't afford you anymore, well then maybe you need some new clients who can afford you. And hopefully, eventually, the clients who can't afford you right now will be able to afford you once their job adjusts for inflation and their income adjusts for inflation too. Stay on top of it. Do it. I've done it. A lot of people have done it, and I would suggest that you do the same. I'm going to give you 2 tips today. Tip 2 involves sound. This summer, it's been kind of surprising how many people have told me that the venue that I'm going to be playing at has sound ordinances or sound restrictions. Things like no subwoofers allowed is something that I've heard several times this summer. There are times when it's a hotel and there are guests trying to sleep there, and if you've got a stack of 18-inch subwoofers in the ballroom, the guests are going to hear this and they're going to ask for refunds on the room. There are times when there is a venue in a residential area, and if you're cranking up the bass or you're really loud, people are going to hear it and complain. This is a real concern for venues. And I know some of you may be saying, hey, it's not my problem, that's the venue's problem. Hold on a second. I've got bars up the road from me, and I know that if they get more than 2 complaints about sound, the police have to come, they could lose their license. So you get 1, it's like warning number 1, you get a second one, so they really have to be careful. Not only do they have to monitor what goes on in their bar, they need to monitor what goes on outside of their bar, with guests leaving and screaming and whooping and hollering and stuff at 2:30 in the morning. Happens. And I'm a pretty nice guy, so I don't call the police. But this does happen. And if I called 2 times, they would have to do something about it. They'd have to address it, or they would lose their license. So, I think it's important that we all start to learn a little more about sound. We should probably understand that we don't need giant subwoofers at every wedding reception. And horns are long throw, so if you have a 2-way top cabinet that's horn loaded, keep that in mind with the mid-range. Maybe bring that down a little bit. I did an event 2 weeks ago at a barn, and it was a no subwoofer, keep the volume low. Sound has to be contained within this barn, which isn't even airtight. So that was tough. I adjusted the sound on the Evolve 30Ms. I turned the bass to like minus 3 dB. I turned the sub level down to minus 3 dB because this column array has kind of a sub on it. And I don't know what I was pushing out of the mixing board. I mean, I was nowhere near 0 dB, but it was still full, you know. It didn't sound bad. And there were times where I thought maybe I was pushing it too hot. So I would say to the people running the facility, hey, am I too loud? So, oh, no, you're fine. Okay. So to me, that says that a lot of DJs are going in here and being irresponsible about it. And just cranking it up or trying to get away with whatever they can. But the sound that I had at this event, you could hear it and you could talk over it. These are the kind of sound objectives that I think are becoming more and more important and something to think about. If you're going to make a speaker purchase in the future or something, think about these kind of things. Sometimes when we're doing weddings and social events, maybe louder isn't the objective. Maybe clearer is a better objective. So start thinking about stepping up your sound reinforcement game. Just a tip. And those are 2 tips for you today on a Wednesday. And I know I said Tuesday DJ Gig Tips, but we're making up for last week. And I'm going to bill Michael after I upload this. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. We'll see you soon. Practice and enjoy.